The scary part of automation is not building it. Building it is the fun part. The scary part is the quiet afternoon weeks later when one of your automations stops working and you have no idea, because the whole point of automation is that you stopped watching it. That is the trap that catches everyone who automates a lot. You set up a job to run itself. You stop thinking about it, which was the goal, and then it fails silently, and you find out days later when something downstream is wrong, or worse, when someone else notices before you do. I run dozens of scheduled jobs and agents now, and I hit this wall hard enough that I built one thing to fix it. A single dashboard that shows me the health of every automation at a glance. Let me walk through what it is, why it matters more than it sounds, and where it can betray you. Let me describe the problem precisely, because the fix follows from it. Each individual automation on its own is fine. It runs, it does its job, it logs what happens somewhere. The problem is not any one job. The problem is that when you have many of them scattered across schedules and machines, there is no single place that answers the one question that actually matters. Is everything okay right now? To answer that without a dashboard, you would have to go check each job's logs individually, every day, which is exactly the manual chore that automation was supposed to eliminate, so you do not check. And not checking is fine right up until the moment it is catastrophic. The gap is not in the jobs, it is in the absence of a single view across all of them. So what I built is deliberately simple. One local dashboard, a page I can open that lists every automation and shows the status of each. Green for healthy, a clear, loud signal for anything broken or stale. For each job it shows when it last ran, whether that run succeeded, and whether it ran recently enough that I should expect it to have run by now. That last point matters more than it sounds, and I will come back to it. The dashboard is local, it runs on my own machine, and it is the first thing I can glance at to know whether my whole operation is healthy or whether something needs me. One look, one answer. Let me give a concrete picture of what each job reports, because the simplicity is the point. When a job finishes a run, it writes a tiny record to the shared place, just a few facts, which job it is, the time it ran, and whether it succeeded or failed. That is genuinely all. It does not write its whole log there. The detailed logs still live wherever they normally live. The shared place is just a roll call, a list of did I run and did I make it. The dashboard reads that roll call and turns it into the at-a-glance view. Because each job only has to write 3 small facts, adding reporting to a job is trivial, a line or two at the end of it, and that low cost is exactly why every job actually does it. If reporting were a burden, jobs would skip it, and a dashboard missing half your jobs is worse than useless. Here is the most important design decision, and it is an architectural one. The dashboard does not go out and check on the jobs. It does not reach into each automation and poke it to see if it is alive. That would be fragile and complicated because the dashboard would need to understand the internals of every different job. Instead, I flipped it. Every job reports its own status to one shared place. When a job runs, it writes a small record. I ran, here is when, here is whether I succeeded. The dashboard does nothing but read that shared place and display it. The jobs push their status out, the dashboard just shows what was pushed. This is a much simpler and more reliable design because the dashboard does not need to know anything about how any job works. It only needs to read a list of status records. And adding a new automation to the dashboard is trivial. The new job just reports to the same place and it shows up. Now the trade-off, because a dashboard is not free and it can actively mislead you if you are careless. The first cost is that the dashboard is one more thing to keep alive. You have added a component, and if that component breaks, you lose your view of everything. So the thing watching your automations is itself an automation that can fail. That is a little uncomfortable, and the honest answer is that the dashboard has to be that simple, because the simpler it is, the less there is to break. Mine does almost nothing. It reads records and renders them, precisely so that it is the most reliable piece in the whole setup. The second and more dangerous trade-off is that a dashboard can lie when it goes stale, and this is the trap I want you to internalize. Imagine a job stops running entirely. It does not fail, it just never fires. Maybe the schedule broke. If your dashboard only shows the result of the last run, it will keep showing that last run as a cheerful green success forever, because the last time it ran, it did succeed. The dashboard looks healthy while the job is actually dead. That is the worst possible failure, a monitoring tool that reassures you while everything is quietly broken. So the single most important feature is not showing whether the last run passed, it is showing whether the job ran recently enough. Every job has an expected cadence. If it should run daily and it has not reported in 2 days, that is not green. That is a loud problem, even though its last actual run succeeded. Monitoring for absence for the job that went silent is the thing that catches the scariest failures, and it is the thing naive dashboards miss. Let me state the design rule that everything else serves, because it is the heart of why the dashboard works. Make broken loud and obvious. Make healthy quiet and boring. A good monitoring view should be almost dull when everything is fine. You glance at it, it is all calm, you move on, that is the desired experience nearly every day. And on the rare day something is wrong, it should grab you immediately. No scanning, no interpreting, no squinting at logs to figure out if that is normal. The failure should be the one thing that stands out. If your dashboard is busy and noisy all the time, you stop reading it. And a dashboard you stop reading is worse than no dashboard because it gives false comfort. Boring when healthy, screaming when broken. That contrast is the whole value. There is a companion to the dashboard that I think is just as important and often gets confused with it, which is the difference between a dashboard and an alert. A dashboard is something you choose to look at. It is passive, it sits there, and it only helps if you actually open it. The danger is the same stoner's trap one level up. You stop opening the dashboard, and the quiet failure sits there glowing red on a page nobody is looking at. So for the failures that genuinely matter, I do not rely on the dashboard alone. I pair it with a push. When something crosses from healthy to broken, the system actively reaches out to me, a message that lands on my phone whether or not I was looking. The dashboard is for the deliberate glance. Is everything okay right now? The alert is for the thing that cannot wait for me to look. You want both, because a dashboard nobody checks and an alert that fires on everything are each failures in their own way. The dashboard is the calm overview, the alert is the tap on the shoulder for the things that matter. And the alert has to follow the same boring when healthy rule as the dashboard, maybe even more strictly, because an alert that fires too often is worse than one that never fires. If my phone buzzes every time anything minor twitches, I learn to ignore it, and then the one alert that actually mattered gets ignored along with the noise. So I am ruthless about what is allowed to alert. Only genuine, actionable problems get to interrupt me. Everything else lives quietly on the dashboard for when I choose to look. An alert is a promise that this is worth your attention right now, and the moment you break that promise with noise, the alert stops working. A few trustworthy alerts beat 100 you have trained yourself to swipe away. I want to be honest about what the dashboard does and does not do, because it is easy to oversell. It does not fix anything. It does not make my automations more reliable on their own. A job is exactly as likely to break with the dashboard as without it. What the dashboard changes is entirely about my awareness. It turns a silent failure I would discover days later into a visible one I catch the same day. That is the whole unlock, and it is enormous, but it is awareness, not prevention. The cues and retries and validation are what make jobs reliable. The dashboard is what makes their failures visible. Those are different jobs and you need both. I want to dwell on the staleness trap a moment longer, because it is genuinely the thing that separates a real monitoring tool from a decorative one, and it is so easy to get wrong. Picture two jobs. The first ran an hour ago and failed, and its record says failed. The second was supposed to run every hour, but its schedule quietly broke 3 days ago, so it has not run at all since, and its last record from 3 days back says succeeded. A naive dashboard shows the first as a problem and the second as healthy green, because it only looks at the result of the last run. But the second job is the more dangerous failure by far. It is completely dead and the dashboard is reassuring you. The fix is to make every job declare how often it expects to run, and to have the dashboard flag any job that has gone silent past that window, regardless of whether its last run passed. Silence is a failure. A job that should have reported by now and has not is exactly as alarming as one that ran and errored, arguably more so because a job that errors at least tried. Catching silence is the feature that earns the dashboard its trust. There is a broader principle here that I have come to believe is the real key to running a lot of automation, and it is this. You do not actually trust automation you cannot see. People think the goal of automation is to set things up and never look at them again. But the genuine confidence to leave things running does not come from blind faith that they will not break, because they will break. It comes from knowing that if they break, you will see it immediately. That is observability, the ability to see the state of your systems at a glance, and it is the thing that lets you scale up the amount you automate without scaling up your anxiety to match. Every job I add reports to the same place and shows up on the same dashboard, so adding more automation does not add more to watch. It all funnels into one view. So if you are automating more than a couple of things, build the view before you regret not having it. It does not need to be fancy. One place every job reports to. One simple page that reads those reports. Broken made loud, healthy made boring, and absence treated as a failure rather than ignored. That is enough, and it is the difference between automation you nervously hope is working and automation you can actually leave alone with a clear head. The building was never the scary part. Not being able to see is the scary part, and the small honest dashboard is the cure. The unglamorous lesson, the same one that runs through everything I build, is that the impressive part is rarely the part that matters most. The automations are impressive. The boring dashboard that watches them is what lets me trust them. Observability is not the exciting half of automation, but it is the half that decides whether you can actually walk away. If you like real systems explained with the boring load-bearing parts left in and the honest trade-offs intact, that is what I do here. So subscribe and follow along. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.